standing by at McMahon Stadium. Hope you enjoyed it here tonight, folks.
Welcome to McMahon Stadium in Calgary, home of the Grey Cup champions, as we're just underway here in the second half of our doubleheader here on Wendy's Friday Night Football on TSN. Rod Smith joined by Neil Lumsden. It was the first Eskimo possession. They had to punt it away, and then the first pass by Marcus Crandall, the Grey Cup MVP, went in the hands of Singer Mobley, who had a good return plus a penalty. And Neil, the Eskimos are in business now early in this game.
Yeah, it looked kind of bleak early on, as you said, but Jason Moss has got it on the 35. A great second start, if you will.
Moss rolls out. He bootlegs and he goes left. And he heads out of bounds after a game of about 1 yard. And this was the interception that we saw just moments ago, and we'll show you now, as Senior Mobley picks off Marcus Crandall in the first turnover of the game.
And you see great protection. That offensive line peels everyone to the outside. He's got a great lane to step and throw. The ball gets out of his hands a little bit. Mobley's in the right spot. Penalty after that gave him even better field position. In
his 5th year with the Eskimos out of Washington State, of course, he had some time with Dallas in the National Football League as well, and a big play to get things started. And a first down for the Eskimos. Inside the 25 of Calgary. Play action fake, throwing off to the left, a man wide open. Ronald Williams, touchdown Eskimos. And that'll quiet the crowd here in McMahon right away.
Caught Calgary off guard. Nice job by Ronald Williams getting out, and more importantly, Moss seeing it and getting the ball to him quickly before he runs into the sidelines, then keeps his balance. That's a heck of a play.
Ronald Williams, known, of course, better for running the football. He had over 1,200 yards rushing last year, but he was wide open for this touchdown.
And again, the key, nice fake there to hold the linebackers. They don't get outside, but that ball had to get to the spot quickly. Moss gets himself in a position to throw the ball. Nice job of keeping your balance by Ron Williams to get in the end zone.
And the point after try for Sean Fleming. Nothing to it. And a quick lead for the Eskimos, who tend to do well against Calgary whenever they meet on opening day. Wendy's Friday Night Football, the Eskimos in front. Sideline with the first points of this game, a 24-yard TD catch for number 24 and a 7-0 Edmonton lead.
A lot of people have talked about the threats out of the backfield for the Eskimos. We know what Ron Williams can do. John Avery's supposed to be also a very good receiver, but don't pay too much attention to one or the other one will get you.
On the kickoff and taken down at the Stampeder 5. And a good return brewing here for number 23. Raymond Adams, the rookie, could go. A flag is down. And Raymond Adams takes it all the way, but a flag back near midfield. And we'll see what this one is. Quite often they do go to the returning team. Raymond Adams, electrifying player out of Little Doane College from the same conference as Mark Boerichter, who's moved on to the NFL and wants a starting job at running back. Of course, Kelvin Anderson might have something to say, but great work on special teams. Was it all for naught?
Well, they're discussing it.
Illegal block. Calgary number 85. First down.
A great return either way. It shows his abilities. Ray Adams. Watch how he gets up in a seam and then slides. There's the wedge. Pops through the wedge. Calvin Anderson gives him a bit of a break. Now watch the slide. And maybe just right around there. That could be the grab. You better, if you're going to tug and pull, do it when you're real close. Brian Nugent. Got to get a little tighter, Brian. You're going to hold him.
And so they'll take it from midfield as the fans boo. It's handed off to Kelvin Anderson.
Kelvin Anderson, number 32, the block player. 11 into about a yard.
Now look at the Wendy's starting quarterbacks for this game tonight as the Battle of Alberta continues. And what a different story from last year at this time when there was a lot of uncertainty both ways. But Jason Moss and Marcus Crandall Neal are clearly the #1 guys in their teams now.
Yeah, a couple years ago, people were talking. They didn't know where the new young stars were going to come from. Well, here are two young guns that did very well. And when you consider that Moss started really going after week 7, he had a tremendous year at quarterback for the Eskimos.
Marcus Crandall, once a backup at Edmonton, but really proved himself last year. He was the Grey Cup MVP, leading the Stamps all the way. And they thought there should have been interference called on that play as well. Donnie Brady providing the coverage on that, but no call, and it'll be third down as Duncan O'Mahony will be out to punt it away for Calgary.
Well, Crandall frustrated. He's looking for that separation. Nice job of coverage. You can bump him, but once he releases, now he tried to come back. Crandall threw the ball to the inside as he should, away from an interception, but the receiver couldn't get to it.
Duncan O'Mahony in his second year at a UBC, the heir apparent as a kicker to Mark McLaughlin, who decided to come back one more time. And so O'Mahony still handling the punting chores while McLaughlin handles the field goals in the conference. One man back for the Eskimos. Number 9, Winston October, to take it on the bounce, or will he at all? As they try to give him the 5 yards, and he draws the penalty for no yards and gets a cup across the 35. Eskimo football, Eskimo lead here on opening night at McMahon Stadium and Wendy's Friday Night Football. Training camp from Don Matthews a year ago. Here's the offense that he has to work with. Jason Moss, no question, at quarterback, and the two-back set with John Avery and Ronald Williams, of course, Terry Vaughn, the outstanding receiver, and up front, a good, experienced offensive line, Bruce Beaton at the left tackle and Tim Prinzen in at center, and Leo Groenwegen, a 15-year veteran with Edmonton. Wally Buono in his 13th season, coming off yet another Grey Cup, and this one a little different. He had so many great years and nothing to show for it at the end. It was the opposite last year.
Very interesting, and when he looked back at last year, he said he wanted to take some more time to cherish this win. But as he moves forward, he says he will have less patience with his team this year than he did last year.
1st and 10, Jason Moss and the Eskimos, and handing off. Ronald Williams with the ball again, and a big gain. Gets to the Calgary 50, and already having himself quite a nice night with the touchdown as well.
Let's take a look at that Calgary defense that Ron Williams just slashed through. New kids on the block. Front four, not one face familiar from last year's Grey Cup team. They're backed by good linebackers, Alondra Johnson, the All-Star. In the secondary, Greg Ferreira's the Western All-Star. He's the main guy back there. Does a lot for them, picks, and really runs that defense and makes the calls.
Now the starting lineup's brought to you by Midas. See Midas for all your car care needs. Midas, we do that. And a big first down after a 22-yard gain. Ronald Williams has the ball again, working it inside, and he is hauled down there. Jeff Traversy, number 94, one of the Stamps, in on the tackle.
Well, there's talk as the season opened that Ronald Williams, as any running back, Rod, wants to be the guy, right? And then John Avery comes along. Well, you know what? Ronald Williams can still be the guy, but his success is often measured not necessarily by how many yards one person gets, but the total input. Everybody knows that. And with Avery and Williams in that backfield, well, I'll tell you, they can come out and catch the ball. They can line up in an eye, and Williams can play fullback. They can be very dangerous.
He had a big year last year, over a 1,000-yard split between Edmonton and Hamilton for disciplinary reasons and problems with Ron Lancaster. Williams ultimately let go. And Tom Higgins, who knows Ron Lancaster very well, still had said he's going to give Ron Williams a clean slate and see how he does here. Sometimes players, don't get along well with coaches, or in teams, other places, they move on and it works out differently for them.
Well, and sometimes it can be the dynamics of the players. If someone gets around a group of players and they're not as comfortable, and things can happen from there. But you know what? Over 1,200 yards, 5'10", 240 pounds, run out of the tailback or fullback. He showed a couple plays ago he can slash. I'd give him a second chance too.
Second down and 11 now out of the shotgun. Moss going to work, throwing over the middle. Has another completion down at the 35. Terry Vaughn, the leading receiver in the CFL and a former Stampeder, with the catch there to move the sticks again for Edmonton.
Great communication between the quarterback and the receiver. Watch out, Terry Vaughn slides inside to that open spot. He was going upfield, but then got separation from Jason Bray, number 31. Moss throws it to the spot because he knows Vaughn's going there.
Won a Grey Cup with Calgary in 1998, and then from there signed on as a free agent with the Eskimos. Moving to the dreaded rival, he knows both sides of it now. First down. Williams again. His number's been called a lot so far, and why not? Because he keeps chewing up the yardage. Close to another Edmonton first down.
We talked about Terry Vaughn a minute ago. He also does a lot of other things well. 7 straight 1,000-yard seasons. He can be an all-purpose guy. He can return. He's a threat no matter where you put him to get the ball. Now, because of his talents as a receiver, you don't put him back as a returner all the time, but boy, he can get it done.
7 straight. That, by the way, is a CFL record tied with Saskatchewan's Donald Narcisse, who did it in the late 80s and early 90s. So another 1,000-yard year this year, and Terry Vaughn stands alone. one of the all-time great receivers in the Canadian Football League. And that is a first down for the Eskimos, moving it again. You saw the 1,000-yard numbers, Neil. The first 4 were done in the red and white of the Stampeders, and then moving over to Edmonton after winning the Cup in '98, and he just keeps doing it.
He just likes Alberta. He doesn't want to move around. Who knows? He may be a Stampeder someday again.
You never know. In the Canadian Football League, what's going to happen? And Jason Moss has been impressive so far. A timeout being called now by Jason Moss. A little confusion in the Eskimo offense.
Well, you certainly want to make sure when you get down in this territory there's no messing around, and it's good he recognized something. Take the timeout, get yourself in order, go to the sidelines and discuss it a little bit, and then go back and try to get in the end zone. Don't waste opportunities.
You're looking at Ricky Ray, the backup quarterback. Tom Higgins dressing only 2 QBs tonight. Still trying to make a decision on a third, and he was asked yesterday, Neil, what happens if both of them go down? You got to present every scenario, and he said that they'll think of that when the time comes. I suppose you got the safety Chris Hardy, who played at the University of Manitoba, little quarterbacking, but that's a long way from worrying about that anyway.
They sure hope so.
Yeah, I would think so. This guy, number 1, has been doing a great job so far. Working with a 7-0 lead and moving this ball, 1st and 10. After the timeout and the draw to Ronald Williams. Big room again. There were questions with all the changes on the Stampeder defense, and so far Edmonton has been able to exploit it.
Well, one of the great things about Ronald Williams when he runs the football is he doesn't waste time. Now, he could pop outside, but he waits just a second. He's deep enough in the backfield. See the weight right here? What a great job at trapping the tackle. Steps down. He doesn't waste much time getting around that block. And again, straight upfield towards the end zone. The end zone's pretty familiar to Ronald Williams. When he was in Hamilton, he got there a lot, and last year.
And the Eskimos look like they're ready to go into that end zone again on another first down, just outside the 10. Little shovel pass. That time it's John Avery, and he's got it inside the 5. It'll be very close to another first down, just a couple of yards away.
Well, everyone in Eskimo land, including the coaches, or more so the coaches, are really excited about John Avery. Here's a guy who was the #1 draft choice in the NFL in 1998 by Miami. Had a great year, all-purpose yards, set a Dolphin record, 1,655 all-purpose yards. And then he got nicked up a bit, and he started to get injury-prone, or so the coaches said. He's come around, and I'll tell the story later about how he's hooked up with Bruce Beaton, and he's maybe his wellness advisor. Could you say that?
Right. He's Bruce Beaton, the fitness guru for the Eskimos. A swing pass out, and it's low for Terry Vaughn, and it falls incomplete. So it'll be 3rd down now and a couple of yards away, of course, inside the 5.
Well, that ball, I'm sure Jason Moss is just walking off, slapping himself in the head, saying, look, that's my fault. Motion in, then slide back. Watch him step back right here. Quick screen. He's got his receivers to block, but the ball is just too low. You know, Vaughn is reading the situation as he's looking at his quarterback. He feels what's going on upfield and tries to continue to stay wide. Jason Moss needed about another foot on that ball. And that's a touchdown.
This will set up about an 11-yard field goal attempt for the veteran number 11, Sean Fleming of the Eskimos. No problem for him, who had a great year last year despite missing the last 2 games of the regular season when he blew out his knee in Toronto. Still came back for the Western Final. A chip shot, and it goes through. 3 more on the board for the Eskimos, and a good start for the visitors here in Calgary. It is 10-0 Edmonton. In Montreal last November, here's one reason why. A great receiver, Mark Boerichter, who hauls this one in the 2nd quarter. A 68-yard touchdown reception for Marcus Crandall, and that put Calgary ahead to stay as they go on to win the Grey Cup. And here's Lisa Hillary now with Mark Boerichter with the Grey Cup. And we'll get to that in a moment. Marcus Crandall dumping it off. And a good gain on first down for Kelvin Anderson. And let's go to Lisa Hillary now with Mark Boerichter.
Thanks, Rod. How strange does it feel, Mark, not being in the red and white tonight?
It's a little strange. I don't know. It's not too bad, but it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, honestly, standing on the sideline. I haven't had this perspective for quite a while.
How are preparations going for yourself and the Kansas City Chiefs?
Excellent, excellent. I'm very excited, and, you know, I'm up here taking a little vacation here before we get going on training camp here in a month. So, you know, it's good to see all these guys and come back and watch them playing and, you know, see this piece of hardware behind us.
Final question. Could we or would we perhaps in Canada playing in the CFL once again?
Well, if it doesn't work out, definitely. You know, I'm obviously hoping that it doesn't happen, but you know, I love this city, this organization, giving me a chance to start my football career. So, you know, I'd be more than happy to come back, you know, if things don't work out, but hopefully that won't happen.
Mark, thanks very much for the time. Best of luck to you and the Chiefs this season.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rod, back to you.
Thank you, Lisa. Nice to see Mark Bohlrichter here as he gets set for the Kansas City Chiefs and a big chance in the National Football League. He made the most of his chance up here in the CFL.
Well, he's got great combination of skills, got good size and strength. He can catch and control the ball on the inside, but he can also, as he proved in that highlight in the Grey Cup, go long.
And it is 3rd and 1 now for the Stamps. A big play and a flag down right away as Crandall tries it on the keeper. But appears to be going against Calgary anyway, and it would put them back into a punting situation.
Well, Calgary trying to get some momentum.
Edmonton number 95. First
And
down.
it does go Calgary's way. Albert Reese called on the offside. And so it automatically goes to a first down for the Stampeders, trying to get something going now, down by 10 points early on in this game. It's about 3 minutes to go until 1/4 time. Ball up at the Stampeder 50 as Wally Guano looks on. On the option, Crandall keeps it and picks up a few yards. And a little bit of punishment as well.
Well, you know, the first spin move is a great one, but the next one, I don't know. I'm sure the coaches upstairs in the booth and down below were cringing, because when you spin twice back into the middle, there's a pretty good chance that someone real big and ugly is going to come. And I don't mean ugly by looks. I mean the way you're going to get hit.
And it's about 3.5, so Crandall is fine nonetheless on that carry. And the second down for the Stampeders, 2nd and 6. Up near midfield. Out of the shotgun, passing, double coverage in there, and a good hit late on as well. Singor Mobley was there. It was intended for one of the newcomers, Rob Johnson, in his first year out of Western Illinois. Talk about Vince Danielson leaving, retiring, and Mark Bohlrichter leaving. The Stampeders did have some holes to fill in the receiving core as well.
Well, when you look at Rob Johnson, he's got great physical skills. And when I asked Wally Bono about him, I said, what are one of the keys that'll make him good and fit well? He says he's sneaky quick. He sneaks up on you. Because of his size, sometimes he doesn't look like he's moving as quick as he is. And then all of a sudden, there he was, gone.
Duncan O'Mahony standing back to punt for the 2nd time in this game. At the Stampeder 40. Good pressure, Eskimos, and a nice punt, O'Mahony. This will drive Winston October back inside his 5. October takes it down inside the 5. The Eskimos with the ball and a 10-point lead. It was bad enough for the Eskimos. Now a holding penalty puts them half the distance, a little further back towards their end zone. So Jason Moss comes on with the ball just barely at the 2-yard line. But they have demonstrated so far in the game that they're able to move that football against a Calgary defense that has seen so many changes from the Grey Cup game last November, especially up front. James Cotton gone, Joe Fleming, Ray Jacobs, Clinton Wayne, Mark Pilon, all gone, all new up front. Handing it off on the first down. John Avery, good gain up to about the 7 or 8 yard line for Edmonton.
Well, we see that alignment, that I formation that puts Ronald Williams at the fullback spot and John Avery at the tailback. And you see how effective it can be. Work one side, and Avery comes back, and the quickness to make the first guy miss around the goal line, get up to just a little bit past the 8 yard line. That's what Tom Higgins has talked about, Avery's abilities in a small space and in a large space.
And in a small space there, he did get it up across the 8. Gain of about 6 yards. Call it 7 and a 2nd and 3. Out of the shotgun for Moss. And throwing quickly, and a man is open. It is the newcomer, Chris Brazel, on the receiving end, and he's gone. Touchdown, Eskimos. And welcome, Chris Brazel. 102-yard touchdown for the Eskimos.
Yikes. You know, when you talk to coaches, as we talked to Tom Higgins the other day, you make some notes on what he likes about players. And one of the things I wrote down when Tom was talking about him was, we think he's our deep threat. Ugh, no kidding, he's a deep threat. Great throw by Jason Moss. Before the coverage comes over, he throws the ball to the inside of the coverage. And this guy just takes off. Another one who was in the Cowboy camp in 2000 shows that if you give him some space, or if you let him get behind you, you won't be flipping over him.
The big note on the media guide on Brazel is big play threat. I should think so. He actually did play one game with the Eskimos last year in Montreal. At the very end of the season, he had 3 catches for 76 yards, and then that was it. So that one game under his belt, and then look what he has done in one play to really give the Eskimos a commanding lead. 17-0 now.
Well, it's perfect positioning both by the camera and the look, and you see the throw to the inside, and Brazel does a nice job of adjusting to some area. Before, again, you see the secondary person come across, but he's coming across too late because Jason Moss threw the ball on time. He throws another 2 steps, maybe it's knocked down. Great communication between a receiver and a quarterback, and that sense.
And great speed by Brazel, and yeah, Moss quickly getting that ball away. Didn't have to wait long at all.
And you didn't have to wait long until he got to the end zone either.
Great breakaway speed. And Wally Buono had some questions about his defense, and I think so far has some concerns. The Eskimos, albeit in preseason play last week at Commonwealth, racked up 51 points. 17-0 Edmonton, and we're not through one quarter yet.
Well, Wally had talked to us about that last preseason game and specifically about his defense, and he said he was more disappointed that some guys, when they're, you're working for a job, it's your last chance to step up, and he felt a lot of guys didn't step up. Feels now they'll get another chance, but as I said earlier, he's not going to be patient with people.
Calvin Anderson back to return this kick for the Stamps, who are in a state of shock right now, despite the presence of the Grey Cup currently in their possession. Excuse me, that was 23. Raymond Adams on that return. Marcus Crandall bringing out the offense for the Calgary Stampeders. Crandall's the key, and so too is Anderson with 6 straight 1,000-yard rushing years. And up front, that offensive line for the Stampeders, veteran as well, with the center Jamie Crysdale, and the top lineman in the West, Jay McNeil, at left guard. The change, Thomas Rayam, because of an non-import ratio move. They put Jeff Pilon in at right tackle, and Thomas Rayam wound up with the Toronto Argonauts. That's the biggest change, you'd have to think, certainly up front with Calgary. And having Kelvin Anderson on your team always helps. Maybe unsung as a great rusher just because of the presence of Mike Pringle all these years as well.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about that. Here's a guy who sometimes disappears in the game based on the way the game's going, not because of what he does, but he comes up with great numbers, as you can see right there. And when you look at his ability to catch the football out of the backfield, and not just in flats, he's a guy who can run patterns. If they can ISO him on a linebacker or even on a defensive back, he's got some great skills. So he's a weapon, and you're right. I think unsung is fair. He's one of the best that's come along in an awfully long time, maybe the best to put on this uniform in Calgary.
Well, he is the leading rusher all time in Stampeder history, passing Earl Lunsford last year, over 7,000 yards now. And you saw those 1,000-yard rushing years in '98 and 2001. He was the West nominee for Outstanding Player. He lost both times to Pringle in '98 and to Kahari Jones of Winnipeg last year. But in those years, he wound up with the Grey Cup. So what's most important? I'm sure Kelvin Anderson would tell you. The cup is nice. And he's got the ball now as he gets up across the 40. A good gain of about 4 or 5 yards for Calgary.
Coming into this season, a lot of people suggested that Eskimo defense is as good as any around, led by Doug Peterson, number 94. He's always a highlight film, in the addition of Peyton on the outside. Of course, Gass in the middle coming off an ACL injury. He looks very good. We wondered if Coleman, the halfback, Quincy Coleman, would be picked on this game. His first game in the CFL was last year in the Western Final, and got taken advantage of a bit. Again last week. He's going to step up. They've got confidence in him, or he wouldn't be there.
This will be the last play of the first quarter, barring a penalty, and a pump fake for Crandall. As receiver goes down, and barring a penalty, there'll be a penalty there, obvious, as Donnie Brady was in on the coverage there of Travis Moore, but looks like the interference will be called, and it'll be a first down for Calgary. Travis Moore knocked down just as the ball arrived in his area.
Edmonton 28, first down.
Terry Ray, 28, the linebacker, called on that interference, and first down in Edmonton territory at the 46 now for Crandall. So call this one coming up, the last play, the first quarter.
Well, when your offense is struggling, you'll take any kind of break to create some momentum, and that's what Calgary needs. I think we see that when you look at Wally going on the sidelines. He wants and needs some fire to come out of this offense. They've got the weapons.
And Anderson takes the handoff and cuts back inside, and on first down gets about 3 more yards. Well, they're the defending Grey Cup champions, but you wouldn't know it on this night. Edmonton having its way 17-0 after 1 as we head back to Ottawa and our studio.
In tough, let's send you back to Calgary.
All right, thank you, Dave, and thank you. And starting off in this second quarter and passing right away, Travis Moore on the receiving end. By the way, Dave, for a makeshift studio, you guys look pretty sharp there in Ottawa tonight and look like an exciting night of football. Frank Clare. Here in McMahon, not so exciting for this man or the team in red and white. They paraded out the cup earlier on, but it has been all Edmonton, 17-0.
Yeah, the shine is off that cup right now if it's on the sidelines in Edmonton where the Grey Cup will be hosted this year, are trying to make a very strong statement saying, yeah, it may be here right now and it may be in Edmonton for the game, but we want to make sure our names are going on it next year. And but you know what? Crandall in this offense, it won't take them long if they can get some good things going to light things up.
Mark McLaughlin, the veteran, trying a field goal he won't get to. A bad snap goes high. And Deshaun Kennedy has to fall on it way back inside the 40. So Edmonton getting another break. It is all Eskimos so far, and they'll have great field position to see if they can pad that 17-point lead.
But when it goes south quickly. Calgary had decent field position on offense, ended up trying to kick a field goal. That ball came out high, and it came out quick. The best thing you can do, if you don't get a chance and you know you have no room, get on it, because an Eskimo could kick that ball down the field and then recover it. As Wally Bono looks on with Jim Daly to his right there, who coaches that defensive line, thinking, okay, these guys have got to step up now.
And excuse me, Darnell Kennedy, who's the third-string quarterback tonight, the holder on that, but had no chance for Darnell Kennedy there as it just sailed up high. And Edmonton football inside the Calgary 40 and handing off. John Avery gets it inside the 30. Good gain on the ground for the Eskimos on first down.
Well, thanks to that, a buddy of his, Bruce Beaton, on the left side of that offensive line, Avery was able to find some room. And Bruce Beaton is a guy who's taken Avery, I wouldn't say under his wing, but has talked to him about staying healthy and about the things you have to do if you're going to be in a game like this. You're going to get punished. You've got to find a chiropractor. You've got to eat properly. You've got to stretch. You've got to do things. And Avery, who was a guy who I talked about earlier, has had a lot of nagging injuries, hopes to stay away from that thanks to, shall we refer to him as Dr. Beaton.
That's right.
From this point on.
Got to have a chiropractor and a proper masseuse. And take care of yourself to play this game a long time. Ronald Williams. Oh, they run the ball again. That twin back set working great with Williams following up on what Avery did, and they have another first down inside the 30.
You got to take care of yourself in this game if you want to play week to week.
Right.
With the amount of punishment these guys take.
Now, when you played, and I don't want to, put a date on things, but we're talking late 70s, early 80s here.
Yeah, there were doctors.
I wasn't gonna...
and we got taped for games, and
But that's about it, right?
No, there were chiropractors.
I know. But medicine has advanced a little bit.
Oh, a bit. Just look at these guys, how quick and strong they are.
A shovel pass again to Avery. He had a lot of space to work with, but he slipped up a little bit. And inside the 20. Well, by the way, looking at that running back tandem, could be the best one the Eskimos have had since the days of Jim Germany and Neil Lumsden, I'd say, back in that heyday. They won all those Grey Cups. You were involved in about 3 of those 5, right?
Well, it's nice of you to say, but we'll wait till the end of the year, see if they can continue to carry the mail.
That's right.
But when we saw down at the goal line before the long pass and run to Brazel that the I formation where Ron Williams, and he lined up at fullback before in Hamilton. He's a guy who can do it because of his size and strength.
And he runs out of shotgun now and throws it off to his left for Terry Vaughn, who has it, but he goes out of bounds. They mark him out, not before another first down inside the 10. It'll be first and goal for the Eskimos, who know no quit when it comes to moving the football against this Calgary defense so far tonight.
Well, out of the shotgun, the Eskimos do a real fine job of taking Moss and sliding him a little bit, just a bit to his left. And that offensive line does a nice job of sliding the protection just a bit. I'm very impressed with the way Moss has thrown the ball to this point, almost like target football. He's had to put the ball in the right places, unless it'll be knocked down. And that was a real good example to Vaughn.
We've seen all kinds of bizarre games between these two teams over the years. It's been a great rivalry, but this would be quite a twist if the visiting team jumps out by 24. And it looks like he dropped it. He had him wide open. Another touchdown chance there, but they'll have another try at 2nd and goal. Intended for Winston October.
Well, that play action to get people biting, then Moss comes to the outside. Now watch, he slides his position of his body. More importantly, his shoulders, so he can side or sling that ball inside. Should have been caught.
Thrown just a touch behind him, but is still easily caught for October, known more as a return specialist. Had a tried out with the Washington Redskins a couple of years ago. Started his CFL career in Montreal in '99 and was electrifying as a kick returner. So on the 2nd and goal from the Stamps, 7 and a chance to blow this game wide open. Moss, lots of time to the right. And there you go. Touchdown Edmonton, Terry Vaughn.
Once again, Jason Moss is showing he's throwing that ball with surgeon-like precision. Unbelievable. I don't know if he's missed a ball yet. Terry Vaughn runs sort of a lazy flat and then starts to stretch a little bit deeper. The coverage isn't bad at all, but the ball is perfectly thrown to the outside of Vaughn. The only one guy can catch it. It's him or it's dropped. And how often do you see this guy drop one around the end zone? Not very often.
The thing we talked about, and it was discussed with Wally Buono yesterday, the question mark up front for Calgary defensively, and could they, with a 4-man rush, could they get much pressure at all? And there doesn't seem to be any pressure at all on Moss, who is getting rid of the ball quickly, but still has plenty of time to work with.
Yeah, and that offensive line of the Eskimos has done an excellent job of protecting their quarterback.
It really has. Terry Vaughn, the ex-Stamp, with a touchdown for Edmonton. It's turning into a rout here in the first half of McMahon. All Eskimos, 24-0 on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Eskimos kick off yet again. And once again, taking it on the return for Calgary is Raymond Adams. He gets it out to about the 25.
No, Rod, good receivers do things well and the little things well. Watch Terry Vaughn's steps. Couple steps to the inside off the line of scrimmage. Right about there. That'll make the defender freeze just for a second. Tucker does a nice job of clearing up the middle. Again, giving Vaughn just a little bit more room. And when the ball is thrown perfectly like that, ends up in a touchdown, and it ends up in frustration for the head coach on the other team.
So Wally Buono has a chat there with Joe Barnes about that coverage. On the other side,
nothing but smiles.
You bet. And there's a 24-point pad, although in this league, especially this early, things can change, but Marcus Crandall's got to get something done soon. Over the middle, Kamal Peterson on the receiving end, who was great for the Stamps late in the season, especially in that Western final when he really busted out. And the first drive of that Western final, a 72-yard reception in Edmonton for a touchdown, and the Stamps never looked back.
Well, Peterson's a fine receiver. When we were on the field before the game, I was talking to Greg Marshall, who's the defensive coordinator for the Eskimos. And I said, you know, pick a couple guys to scare you. And he says, Peterson, he's a heck of a football player. No kidding.
Over the middle again. And this time to the newcomer, Rob Johnson. Another first down for the Stamps, who have suddenly found some life across midfield into Edmonton territory, with 9:53 on the scoreboard clock to go until halftime.
And I like the fact they're getting into a hurry-up offense or fire or lightning or whatever they call it here in Calgary. That can set a defense back a bit. And when you do get things going, it helps you keep things going. Get you a little bit sharper, and I think that's what we're seeing, and certainly what Calgary needs.
Got a shotgun again, Crandall. Dumping it across. And another first down. This time, Ibrahim Tunkara, the #1 pick out of Ottawa a couple of years ago in his 3rd year with the Stampeders. This offense being run now by Jacques Chapdelaine. George Cortez moving down to college football in California. And Jacques Chapdelaine, who had been coaching university football at Laval a couple of years before, was an assistant with the Stamps last year. And it is his offense to run now. And what a legacy to follow that Cortez and John Hufnagel before him laid out for this Calgary team that offensively has known so much success. That one incomplete and intended once again for Tunkara.
And great coverage by Malcolm Frank there by the Eskimos. But you're right, Chapdelaine comes in. Chapdelaine's been a very successful coach. Was great in Laval, an unfortunate situation that, you know, candidly probably shouldn't have happened. But, you know, he ended up moving on. He was a guest coach here before, as you talked about. And Wally Buono said, you know, it's almost like we knew George was going to leave at some point to become a head coach or an assistant or an offensive coordinator in the U.S. And this was a perfect transition, seamless in some ways.
And now the offense has been moving a little bit for the first time in this game, although not now. Intercepted. Singor Mobley on the pick in the end zone, and a good return across the 20 to the 25. And even when it starts to go right for Calgary, it ends up going wrong. Midway through the second quarter, Edmonton has the ball back in a 24-point lead at McMahon. Early in the season, Singor Mobley is already the interception leader in the CFL. He's got 2 in this first half, and that was a big one, Neil.
Well, it's a bit of a sneaky defense. We got Mobley, who's normally a linebacker. He'll come back in that area like they've switched their coverage. Watch him just read the quarterback. Ball's overthrown. He's running to that spot. It's almost like he's playing a loose safety to the left side.
And Jason Moss rolls out to his left, and nothing but daylight ahead of him. Slides down for a first down, and a flag for a late hit. With Moss going down, so that'll go against Calgary as well, as a few boos come out here at McMahon. The Stamps will be punished for that.
Well, another sign of maturity. After talking with Tom Higgins, he said, you know, when you have the enthusiasm and the ability
roughness, Calgary 98, first down.
Of a Jason Moss, who likes to run and get his nose down and get a lot of yardage, that, you know, as time goes on, you know what, you got your first down. Get down on that knee, slide into second, and be safe. Well, he thought maybe, but watch the late hit coming up. He's down.
And actually, Corey Terry with 98, you see just in front, was called, but somebody else went in. Looked like they would be the ones who were committing the infraction. Nonetheless, it is a roughing penalty against Calgary, so it gives Edmonton even better shape at the 51-yard line. Under 8 minutes to go until halftime. Handing off to Ronald Williams. Once he gets through that line, lots of room to rumble. Another first down inside the Calgary 45. What a half he is having.
Well, absolutely, and the offensive setup is perfect. You know what? They send 4 receivers to the right-hand side. They're spreading out. They're loosening up that secondary. And watch the ball's deep, because he can make the read off the great job that offensive line is doing. And then again, doesn't waste time. Gets upfield, gets those shoulder pads down, and that 240 pounds ready to drive into a defender.
The story of this game, as much as anything else, is the job that Edmonton front line has been doing against the front 7 of Calgary. It has been total dominance. That is Terry Vaughn with the football, and good yardage again on first down for Edmonton.
Yeah, actually a pretty fair reaction by that Calgary defense. They came up with the same set, and they got Vaughn almost like an underneath handoff. The old Ron Stewart kind of handoff. And the defense to the wide side of the field for Calgary, Willie Fell specifically, hung in there, made the read, and didn't chase.
And I love the Ronnie Stewart reference, an Ottawa Football Hall of Famer on a night that the CFL returns to Ottawa. And not a win for the Renegades, but what an impressive game. And Saskatchewan pulls it out in overtime. That was the first half of our doubleheader here to start the season at TSN for the CFL. And all Edmonton here with Ronald Williams looking for a little bit more than he got. Just falls over the 35. He needed a little bit more. It'll be very close, 3rd and short for the Eskimos.
Well, the Eskies are in running mode, and I don't mean Ronald Williams. Look at the line. There's a tight end on the left side. They did a little bit earlier, and he's right there. He wears a penny or a pullover, number 98. Extra power. Now that defensive end has to make a decision. Does he step to the outside to where he should be, or does he stay head up, which is now on that tackle? They're forcing Calgary to do some things they don't want to do based on formation.
And they're going for it on 3rd down. Moss keeps it. And if he has it, he barely does. But it'll be very close. It's about a 1.5 foot that they need it. Get down to about the 39. They'll be calling in the chains likely, because it looks probably close enough to measure, depending on the spot.
Well, as always, linebacker Willie Fells, 39, is pretty animated that he didn't make it. I like to call him. You're down there. You're having your way.
You got 24 points to work with.
Darn right.
Chance to bury them.
Funny, Tom Higgins talking about going into this season and into training camp as they are short. Great job by that Calgary defense.
By a couple of inches. Tom Higgins applauds the attempt anyway, but it doesn't work. But the only thing that hasn't gone right for Edmonton. Different story a year ago in the Western Final at Commonwealth Stadium when Marcus Crandall really got to stick it to his old team. 4 touchdown passes. He was 17 for 21. That one for Kamau Peterson there early in the game, and he just continued to roll along. The MVP of that game, and went on to do the same at the Grey Cup. The retired Vince Danielson on the receiving end. They ended up having a brilliant day. A great first half, and they go on to win easily. As there you see Marcus Crandall facing a much different Edmonton team, and that result there as he goes for Peterson, Tunkara, is very typical of the kind of game that he's been having this night.
Well, as comfortable as we've talked about as Jason Moss looks, Marcus Crandall seems to be as uncomfortable. That ball uncharacteristically thrown off target. They're struggling right now. There's absolutely no question. This offense is trying to struggle. They're staying in that area of offense, which they had a bit of success with earlier on in this quarter. They've got to get some momentum going.
The last drive, they had a bit going, and then they were intercepted. And on this drive, after the incompletion, taken down. Albert Reese, 95, in on that sack. As you notice, number 56, Alfred Payton, known for the sacks, is close to him as well. But Albert Reese there getting it done.
Well, this is just a great rush by that defensive front. And on the outside especially, that's a bull rush right there, going over, just keep going, scrambling, getting on all fours, dragging and pulling, getting past it to the quarterback. That's how you do it, with a little help from the inside from Anderson.
Steve Anderson down at the feet with Albert Reese on top. And Winston October, the punt returner, the lone man back for the Eskimos, who weren't hurt at all by going for it on third down and missing out, although a nice punt by Duncan O'Mahony chasing him back inside the 25. Winston October still on his feet, and he's finally taken down inside the 30. 24-0 Edmonton late in the half.
Edmonton.
Well, coming up at the half, we welcome Jock Climby, just as we welcome you, Neil Lumsden, to our broadcast this year. Dave Randorf, Schultze, Matt Dunnigan, and Jock with a look at this first half and the Ottawa Renegades' first game, losing to Saskatchewan earlier in this doubleheader. That is coming up in Wendy's Friday Night Football at the half. They're in Ottawa, of course, Frank Clair Stadium. John Avery for the Eskimos, and a short gain.
Interesting to watch Avery when he took that play. We've seen Ron Williams run it a couple of times, make a very, very solid plant after he sees what's in front of him. Now Avery dances a little bit too much. I don't think he's, and nor should he be. I mean, this is the first time he's really been under fire at this offense. Is comfortable with making that read and then slashing.
So in a second and long, Moss working out of the shotgun and quickly throwing it over the middle. It's worked well for him tonight on the completion there, up around the 40, and it looks like first down yardage as Terry Vaughn was pointing that way. Jason Tucker on the receiving end.
Well, you got Greg Frères from safety coming up in the middle. He's right here. They're going to have to step inside. Watch the pressure from the outside from number 39, Willie Fells. They close down. There's 39. Moss takes a shot, but completes the pass. Just enough time because the pressure was from the outside and Frères didn't get up the middle.
And just enough yardage on the receiving end. Jason Tucker from Jason Moss for a first down. Just inside the Edmonton 40. 9 for 12. Having a great half.
Oh, he is. And, not that he was a whole lot different last year, but there was no quick feet, no stuttering, no anything by Jason Moss there. He stepped back. He knows what's coming. Frères steps up. He knows they only got so many guys in the block, but he stays with the read, gets the ball, and more importantly, again, throws the ball to the right spot to the receiver.
There's Danny Machocha talking it over. Moving over from the Montreal Alouettes after 5 years there. He's a Montreal native, and he is the offensive coordinator of these Eskimos. And, of course, a little bit different in Montreal all those years working with an offense based around Mike Pringle.
Well, exactly. And Danny, as you said, came from Montreal. When Tom Higgins was looking for an offensive coordinator, he called an old friend, Charlie Taft, who just happened to be the head coach there for a while. And Danny came highly recommended. Tom Higgins is thrilled to have Danny as the offensive coordinator. We talked to him a bit before the games, and he just big smile on his face. He's happy to be here, I'm sure.
Charlie went on to Maryland after having success, Coach of the Year a couple of times with the Eskimos, and yeah, he had said to Tom Higgins, he's the first guy I'd hired, and that was enough for Tom Higgins to go on. Sure.
Yeah, great debut not only for Jason Moss to start the year, but for your offensive coordinator. You got to be licking and smiling and crossing your arms, saying things are looking pretty good.
They sure are. They're looking better now. You're right. Ronald Williams rumbling to midfield, and another first down for the Eskimos.
Boy, he is just looks like he's got a bit of a twist maybe in the thigh area, but is he ripping through people and tackles? I mean, that's the power that Ron Williams has shown that has made him successful for a number of years. It's so difficult to grab around his legs because he's so strong, and he keeps the legs moving. You talk about any good running back, no matter where they play, that explosiveness they got in the lower part of the body.
And he is still down, getting some attention, and looks understandably uncomfortable. And
he'll be fine.
You heard it from up here.
I just got a feeling he'll be fine.
Yeah. It just takes some time.
Just takes some time, yeah, that's right.
Now, next Friday night in Winnipeg, the Stampeders won the Grey Cup at the expense of the Blue Bombers, who were the best team in the regular season last year at 14-4. And the Bombers host the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And you can watch it. Wendy's Friday Night Football at 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific time. Dave Ritchie, Kahari Jones and company. And back in the West as well, making this a much tougher division, certainly, than it was last year, where no team had a winning record. Danny Machoch and Tom Higgins looking on with some concern, as Neil said he'll be fine, and you know he's looking fine now as Ronald Williams is up and slowly.
Oh, he's not jogging off, but he'll be jogging in a minute or so. He's got to get his wind back, so to speak.
We got the diagnosis here.
Yep, and the diagnosis for Wally Bono at this point is, boy, our defensive front. You know, we talked about that there are a lot of new faces. They're all new on the down front four of Calgary. Who they're missing? Joe Fleming, suspended, may retire. He accounted for 11 sacks last year. James Cotton with the Bills. Clinton Wayne with the Renegades. Ray Jacobs with Saskatchewan. A lot of holes to fill.
And Mark Pilon, who was injured with the Eskimos. All that change. Faking the handoff and then dumping it off to Avery. And a first down inside the 40, down near the 35. The Eskimo machine, even without Ronald Williams, continues to roll along. Just under 3 minutes to go until halftime, and what a half it has been for the Edmonton Eskimos, who lead the Stamps 24-0 on Wendy's Friday Night Football. Up front defensively.
Yeah, that picture of the Grey Cup champions has now changed somewhat. You'd have to white out some faces, and you know what? It's not the fact that they're just changes. They're changes. They're good players. And Fleming, Wayne, Jacobs, Cotton. I mean, these guys got after it. They knew the system. They knew the game. And they were very good at what they did.
Now you see Jeff Traversy. He was with the Stamps last year and has been for a few years, but because of an infected elbow, he was not part of that Grey Cup game or even the Western Final. So he wasn't on that roster for the Grey Cup, and a lot of changes defensively. And so far it hasn't shown very well. As you see Traversy there. Yeah, he had an elbow infection and needed to be taken to the hospital in Edmonton before the Western Final, and didn't get to play in that game and had to miss the Grey Cup game as well. And he is the only veteran up front in his 6th year out of Edinburgh College. But so much change for Calgary, and they've endured it before. That's one thing that Wally was talking about yesterday.
Well, it's 18 games, a long season. He just hopes these guys come around so he doesn't have to make changes.
Out of the shotgun, throwing it inside again. Number 83, Jason Tucker, in the receiving end, down to the 15.
Well, you know, you can't make certain plays like that one to Tucker without the things going on, and that's good protection.
Out of Texas Christian, released by the Cowboys last year, drafted by Cincinnati in '98, but in 1999 with Dallas, had 331 all-purpose yards. And there's one really great game with the Cowboys. That is 9th all-time in the National Football League for all-purpose yardage. And just picked up some yardage there for the Eskimos to move the sticks again, and Moss that time had trouble getting it away. Slipped out of his hand, so it falls incomplete.
Almost looked like it was a bit of a reload situation. He started to move, and he wanted to curl that wrist and that hand underneath the ball to pull back because he didn't like where the ball was going to go if he let it go. And you know what? In those situations, it's better to hit the ground than hit a defender in the chest and have them turn the ball over. Again, all the plays, if not most of them, come in from the sidelines. Then he gets a chance, Jason Moss does, to change it on the line based on the defense and what his arsenal is at that point.
And that's Danny Machocha, the man who runs that offense. On a 2nd and 10 for the Stamp 17, and a chance to head to the locker room up by 31. If they can find the end zone again. Intercepted. And there's the first big play for the Stampeders of the day. And it's the corner, William Fields, with a big play in Edmonton in a regular season game last year with an interception there. Something finally going right for Calgary.
Well, Fields does an excellent job not only in his coverage but spying the quarterback. This is the first real bad throw that Moss has made. And again, that slide coverage, he slides over to the side. That ball's thrown to the inside, should have been obviously to the outside, but Fields is in the right spot as he sees the receiver come back. Heads up, and they're hoping, I'm sure,
Calgary
that Fields
95.
does turn things
First
around.
down.
As you said, this team has tons of weapons on offense. They just haven't really lit any of them up. I mean, where's Travis Moore been tonight?
Hardly anywhere to be seen. Calgary football and push back to their 10. William Fields on the interception. 24-0. The Stamps are down. 1:42 in the clock here at McMahon before they head to the locker room. Calgary had a rough start to the season last year, losing 44-22 to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, who they'd ultimately meet in the final game of the CFL season. And the result was a bit different. But it is a slow start. It's Ibrahim Tunkara on the receiving end with a first down. He gets it up to the 30. Last year in the rematch, the Labor Day rematch at Commonwealth, Stamps down by a point. Edmonton had just scored a touchdown. They went for 2, of course, with 45 seconds left, because if they were up by 3, then Calgary kicking a field goal would only tie the game. But Fields intercepted that Moss pass, took it 110 yards the other way. And because of that, and this is such a rarity in the CFL, he returned it, not a touchdown, but they got the 2 points, and they went ahead and won 34-33.
And one of the most bizarre or goofiest finishes you've ever seen as the reason the team would win. 2 points for that going the other way. Who would have ever thought that would happen? And I don't know if I'd ever seen it before, and maybe a very long time before we see it again.
And it made sense, Tom Higgins going for the 2. I mean, it added
absolutely.
up, but it was extraordinary and a dramatic finish. It said there was 45 seconds on the clock. And that was a big win for the Stamps, because they were 3-6 heading into that game. They were having a rough season, and that got them a little closer. They finished 8-10. They got in, and the rest is history. They knocked off Edmonton in the Western Final. William Fields having a little hand in it along the way. Good corner, the second year out of Houston. Marcus Crandall having a rough night tonight. Gets it out to Tunkara again. With a big gain in that previous play, and gets it up around the 35.
Crandall now satisfied with taking the guys that are open. Now, that didn't get him a first down, but he's seeing they sent 4 receivers to one side. They're trying to pressure that and make Edmonton change their coverage. They're doing a great job covering downfield, and they'll give him 4 or 5 yards to Tunkara. That's a no-brainer, especially when there's only 1:22 left in the second quarter.
Duncan O'Mahony out of UBC in his second year. His previous punt chased Winston October way back inside the 20. It was a 55-yarder. Low snap and another booming punt. This guy can really get under them. As October stands under around his 22 and is taken down after about 3 yards. 1:01 until the locker room and halftime. We've got lots more coming up for you here on Wendy's Friday Night Football at the half. Heading back to Ottawa, where the Renegades opened up against Saskatchewan. Dave Randorf, Chris Schultz, Matt Dunnigan, and the new guy, an Ottawa native, Jock Climby, after retiring and joining us, and we're pleased he did. Great guy. Great guys in general. I understand that some of them were working at Wendy's today, serving some stuff up. John Wells there?
Yeah, I saw a little bit of the video. They were excited. You know what? If they got to be careful, though. You do the thing too well, they want them to come back every Saturday or every Friday night, have a special night for them. They looked right at home, didn't they?
Well, it's part of the job. On the panel, you work at Wendy's by day and you do the game, and I think that's a good productive way of approaching it.
Yeah, Schultz kept hitting his head on the fans, I heard, though.
You get a lot of free food, too. We all like that idea.
Ronald Williams, number 24.
Ronald Williams back in the game. Neil was right. Dr. Lumsden did have it correctly. Williams was hurting there a little while ago, and he went off, and now he's back.
Well,
let's just leave it at that.
It doesn't slow him down. It only slows him down on the walk back to the huddle. You got to show, hey, look, I'm still a little bit nicked. I'll run hard, but I'm still a little bit nicked. I'm still in pain. Little pain.
Here in Calgary, it's all about cowboy toughness, right? And he is having, that injury notwithstanding, a brilliant night.
Well, if he was worried about not getting the football, those worries should be gone.
He's the one man in the backfield now as they fake to him and now dump it off to him. They've run that play a couple of times to perfection as they do again, nearly 10 more yards. As Ronald Williams through the air and on the ground, and another first down, and he's having a solid 60 minutes squeezed down into 30. Let's see what the second half has in store. 31 on the clock until halftime.
Well, on a little bit of break, and what a great situation the Eskimos can be in if they decide to go with a one-back situation. As you see Ron Williams leaving, he tag teams with John Avery. He comes in, and you're not losing much. Different style runner, but again, explosive. And as I mentioned earlier, the more Avery gets used to this offense and reading what blocks happen in front of him, the quicker he will hit those holes.
Ticking down under 15 seconds now as Moss under shotgun, and of course the coverage is soft as Terry Vaughn just jumps over the Calgary defender is Kelly Malvo. 3-on-3, you might say. Number 3 on number 3 there. And another first down.
Well, they test your vertical jump sometimes. I don't know if they do it in pro, but I know they do it in college. But this is a bit of a whoop right there. Look at that. They teach you when you tackle. Never drop your head when you're going to tackle somebody. Well, that is just a perfect. Look at the vertical jump here. Now watch up and over, and then still get in a position to take on a tackler as he's coming. He's doing it all.
Quite a hurdle. Off tackle goes Ronald Williams. Excuse me, Avery, John Avery on that carry up across the 50, but that was the final play of the half. What a half it was for the Edmonton Eskimos. Danny Machoch's offense, Tom Higgins, he's got to be a happy man. He's not. Down by 24 at the half is Moss, who dumps it off, and not much doing that time. A short gain. It'll be 3rd down for Edmonton in field goal range at about the 36, and Sean Fleming is coming on. But at least it gets down into the territory where they can pad that lead and add 3 more.
Oh, without question. You know, and you look at quarterbacks and the successful ones as they mature, everyone makes mistakes. Everyone throws interceptions. But timing of those mistakes is very key, and where on the field they happen. And to this point, sure, Jason Moss threw a bad pass down in the other zone in the red area, but it didn't hurt them. The defense stepped up and they stopped and they got the ball back. So it's the timing of those mistakes is key, as they found out last year with 12 turnovers in the Western Final.
Well, I mentioned Sean Fleming is coming on, but it is to punt the ball. What would be around a 45-yard attempt, he doesn't bother. They're looking for better field position, and a flag is down as he tried to just squib a punt inside the 20. So I'll have to wait for that call. Now they are going against a slight breeze here at McMahon. That would have been a 45-yard attempt into the wind under different circumstances. I gather they might have gone for it, but I guess when you're up by 24.
Holding, Calgary 51, 1st down.
Well, that'll go Edmonton's way anyway. A holding call against the Stamps. So the Eskimos keep the football anyway, keep a drive alive deep in Calgary territory, up by 24. Tonight, Aldi Henry and Marcus Crandall carrying in the Grey Cup. It's been downhill since. We'll have lots more highlights coming up with Gino Reda and Dan Pollard on Sports Center, the next edition at 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific time.
At least they got across the goal line in this play.
That's about it. The Stamps aren't laughing right now, though, as they start deep in their own territory with the ball. So there was a holding call, I should clarify. A holding call on that short punt by Fleming that did push Calgary further back, but they did maintain possession of the football after that kick and not going to Edmonton. Just to clarify why Calgary does have the ball, and on that Ibrahim Tunkara reception across the 26 to close to the 27-yard line. Calgary trying to get something going now, at least score first here in the second half. Dumps it off. Another reception, and good work by Kamal Peterson to keep his feet and get closer to another Calgary 1st down, a little shy by about 1.5 yards.
Well, pressure on the quarterback. Quincy Coleman brought it from one side, and Alfred Payton will bring it from the other side. They'll swing him to the wide side of the field for pressure. The sack man, Tom Higgins, is very, very happy with him. Says he's come in with in great shape. And he's probably going to get 10 or more, which will vault him, or at least sneak him by Bobby Jerson.
He was let go by the Argos in training camp after they, of course, had signed Joe Montford earlier. And Alfred Payton's still a force. He was second to Montford in sacks last year in the CFL. And as you just saw on the all-time list, creeping up that as well. He had 22 sacks back with Winnipeg. And when he started in the CFL in 1993, he moved around a little bit. Of course, had some good years in Montreal, too. And with the Argos last year, and now an Edmonton Eskimo. And Tom Higgins, as you said, Neil, very happy to have him. Not a big man, but very quick. Effective moves and trying to pressure enemy quarterbacks. And this one, Marcus Crandall, just keeps it. And on that 1st down, carries it up across the Calgary 50. So the Stamps finally have got something a little bit going right now, hoping for something encouraging to happen when they're down by 24.
And staying in that hurry-up offense, hoping to probably put a little bit more pressure on that Eskimo defense and try to tire them out, because at this point that Eskimo defense has stayed fairly fresh. They haven't been on the field a lot. Their offense has done more of that.
Quickly out of the shotgun, and it's the fullback, Scott Dybert, on the carry. A quick hit, cross midfield, and another 1st down for Calgary.
Well, it would be a mistake if the Eskimos went in at halftime and then came out to start the second half figuring they've got them down. 24 points, no problem. That would be a big mistake, because we've seen in this matchup in the past, no question, 24 might not be enough.
Saw Dan Kepley there to the left of Tom Higgins, one of the assistants on the Eskimo staff and one of the all-time great linebackers in CFL history. Watching his team ahead in a defense that's done a remarkable job. And there's another nice play, and there he is. Swack, Alfred Payton with his first sack as an Eskimo as he goes through the routine. And #1 in the year, and there's bound to be plenty more given the history of Alfred Payton in the Canadian Football League.
Well, you know what the key to this play is, we've seen in good rushers, is they don't always get them right where the pocket's supposed to be. It doesn't always work out that way, but follow Payton. He's coming in from the left-hand side. The quarterback starts to move. He continues to follow the quarterback up the seam, gets Crandall. That's great pursuit and great quickness.
Now, a lot of pressure there, but of course it's all coming early as the flag finally comes out. They don't get the playoff on a 2nd down and 11 to go, and a little more activity going on in behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, as a coach, you know, I don't think that's a bad thing. Jay McNeil takes exception to something. It's the first little bit of emotion we're seeing from the Stampeders, and obviously that's been lacking thus far in the game. Take nothing away from what the Eskimos have been doing.
Procedure,
but emotion,
Calgary 64, still 2nd down.
Is an important part of any game, whether you're ahead or behind. You lose it, you're in big trouble.
It'll be 2nd and 16 now with 5 more tacked on. So the Stamps, after moving well, are starting to go the other way now here in this 3rd quarter, down 24-0. And a big 2nd down, I would think, because they have been establishing a little bit of momentum. Out of shotgun, looking to his left, Crandall throwing over the middle, complete. And still going, Kamal Peterson, a big game for him. Inside the Edmonton 40, down near the 35, and a 1st down, Stampeders.
Well, I'll get a little bit of jump. What a great throw right through the middle in that soft spot. 4 receivers to that one side. A little bit, not confusion in the Eskimos, but watch Peterson gear it down going through that soft spot. That's what he's got to do. 4 defenders around him. He's got the presence to see and feel what's around him. Crandall sees it, throws it to the spot.
And again at 25 and 4, out to the left for Calgary. Out of shotgun again, and that's the way Crandall's looking. Throws it over, complete again. That time it's Tunkara. Not a 1st down, but good yardage on 1st, about 7, and a flag, a late flag coming out as tempers are starting to flare between these 2 bitter rivals.
Well, Mobley was in there early. Peterson came in late. It's a tag team. Someone came over the ropes. I wasn't sure who threw the first punch for the Stampeders. Well, we talked about emotion.
And it'll be interesting story, Neil, to see how they sort this out when the flags come down, because Calgary has the momentum, and they had a good gain on that, about 7 yards, close to 8 yards. Doug Peterson and Jeff Pilon. As more words are exchanged, this is what happened.
You can see Pilon coming, just trying to get a shot. Mobley was already hooked up with Childress, and now everyone from the perimeter, you saw Peterson come in. Figure, well, you know what, if people are going to take a shot at Peterson, again, over the ropes, he's body slams man to the left. Tell you, Peterson is, you talk about emotion and motor, and you can say that about a number of guys, but this truly is Tom Higgins paid him a compliment yesterday, and you know, and it's true. You can, some guys say, well, you know, he's a great Canadian player for a Canadian, but Doug Peterson is an example of just a great football player. He doesn't have a C stamped on his butt. He doesn't have an A stamped on his butt. He can play anywhere, anytime.
Simon Fraser in his 4th year with the Eskimos. Of course, he was on a Montreal line with Alfred Payton back in the late 90s. 6'5", 290, and I don't know how much fat you'd find on that body. He's a pretty lean physical specimen and awfully intense as well. Keeps himself in great shape.
Yeah, the caliper test, they wouldn't find much on him. Not at all.
I remember years ago he was mouthing off to the media about the physical condition of Dan Payne, who was an offensive lineman at BC at the time. And Payne, former Olympian, you know, was carrying a little bit extra, you know, and Doug Peterson, I guess, was riding him for it, for not being in as great possible condition as he could be. And I don't think Payne really cared what he had to say.
Well, you know what? These guys got to keep their helmets on. I'm not sure what's going on with Peterson here, but you're not supposed to be taking your helmet off, and it looks like he's pleading a case that may already have been judged.
He's on his way to the locker room. And I think his night is over.
Well, and right now, he's the only one.
And the fans are picking up on this as he gets his escort off and has a few
Major
words
foul.
for some fans, I
Unnecessary
should think.
roughness.
Yeah, he was just
Calgary
pointing out the
number
score.
68.
That's all.
Major foul, rough play, disqualification, Edmonton 94. First down.
Well, you know, I look at that and you look at the little bit of a melee, if you can describe it that well. You know, was he the only guy? Well, I mean,
seems strange.
it doesn't seem right.
Well, obviously it's the argument afterwards that did it in for him, because I doubt he was. And with the roughing as well. That's the call they've made, so it'll work in Calgary's favor. A roughing penalty called against Doug Peterson and also out of the game. Here's what happened once.
Well, and it started with senior Mobley and Childress. You know, and then Pilon comes in late. So, and then you saw Peterson come in. So I guess if it's like hockey, a hockey fight, if two guys are coming in late and you throw them both, well then maybe it should be Peterson and Pilon. Just a thought.
Unless they cut them some slack at that moment and there was something else afterwards, and Tom Higgins wants to know. Higgins, by the way, doubling not only as the head coach, but as the defensive line coach, so it's his concern as the replacing Doug Peterson in more ways than one.
And said he's having a blast doing it. Again, the transition from last year to this year, he feels more like himself, and being involved, he's really enjoying it.
A former D-line coach with the Calgary Stampeders, I might add, a while ago. End zone look, but too far for the intended receiver, Calvin Anderson. And so it'll be second down from inside the 20 for Calgary. Their deepest penetration of this ball game, and needing a touchdown badly, down 24-0, approaching the midway point. 4 for 5 in this drive, which is drastically different from the first half of this game for Marcus Crandall. Second and 10 from the Edmonton 18. Peterson to the right and in motion, coming back inside. And Crandall, lots of time. Moving around a bit. Can't find the open man, so he takes off. He'll have another first down or close to it inside the 10. Had to get to the 8 for a first down, and it looks like he has it.
Well, Crandall forced out of the pocket. Here's Travis Moore from that bunch. Now he's picked up right there, but then breaks loose right here, waves his hand. By that time, Marcus Crandall is on his way out of the pocket. So Travis Moore becomes open, but too late. Does a good job of still tying someone up downfield, jumping around as if there's still an opportunity to catch the football. Those little subtle things can make a big difference in a quarterback running by a defender versus breaking off the coverage and making a hit.
And Travis Moore, amazingly, no catches so far on this night. That's extraordinary. And as you pointed out, Neil, that one, had Crandall seen him, would have been for 6 in their first points of the game. And he did not get the first down. He got awfully close, but he's shy by, must be inches, given where they've spotted the yard marker right now. This has got to be it for Calgary. They need a touchdown badly. They need to get it over around the 8-yard line, and it looks like they do in that keeper by Crandall to keep this drive alive, and it'll be first and goal for the Stampeders.
Well, that's that battle up front we talk about, and that surge by that more of the interior offensive line. Crysdale at center, McNeil at guard and left side, and Hessman at right guard. And you watch the surge, it's just that arrow. Follow that point. Quick step, little bit of a gap move there by Crandall, and then the push, and watch AJ Gash come over the top at the end, but that's too late.
And the Eskimos perhaps missing Doug Peterson in the inside on that play. Peterson gone for the game. Kicked out of the game after a roughing call earlier in that drive, and time called as Crandall heads off to the sideline. In what is obviously a very important drive with 6:52 to go in the clock, if Wally Buono and the Stamps want to get back in this game.
The McMahon Stadium Society, the Calgary Stampeders would like to thank the...
Well, we talked about off the air that it was imperative that Calgary get on the board first, without question, and get back some of that emotion that has been missing, and the momentum that they've had just in little hunks thus far. And Jacques Chapdelaine, his first real test as an offensive coordinator, having to make some changes when absolutely nothing went well in the first half. Okay, what do you do? Oh, well, you better make some adjustments, even if they're subtle, and you better get those guys cranked up.
So with first and goal, just inside the 7-yard line, the Stamps go to work again. Crandall, end zone look, nearly intercepted. It was nearly picked by number 25, Quincy Coleman.
Well, a great jump on coverage by Coleman. It's a quick pass to Moore. He wants to get inside, almost a quick slant. He's thrown 2 steps in the way it goes. Excellent coverage right there by making the read coming underneath.
And Travis Moore, the intended receiver on that play, and as mentioned earlier, shut out on the night.
Jed Roberts, number 76, is in replacing Doug Peterson after the ejection.
So on second down and goal. End zone look again. There's the Stamp touchdown. Ibrahim Tunkara. Finally, the Stamps get on the board in 2002. And it has been much awaited for this crowd. And for Blue, who finally gets to ride. Tunkara with the major. The Stamps start to get back into this game.
Left side of your screen, then the replay. The back comes out to Kara, sets a second. Almost looks like he's in traffic. And after the flow goes by him, he slides out very quietly down by the goal line. Great read and great adjustment by Tunkara.
And Mark McLaughlin with the conversion. And so they chip away now, still down 24-7. Wendy's Friday Night Football from McMahon.
Here's that bunch formation by the Stampeders. Tunkara there. The back will come out. Watch the little bit of confusion right in here. Once the play starts going, Tunkara waits just a second. Nice patience, slides to the soft spot. Great read and a good job by Tunkara of letting that go. And that's all set up. That's not confusion because they don't know what they're doing. That's designed.
And finally, we hear a lot of cheers in this crowd of more than 33,000 at McMahon for this opener. Pretty silent so far, understandable. Eskimos still with a big lead, but at least the Stampeders are on the board. And a nice drive for Calgary, something desperately needed as well. Ibrahim Tunkara, 11 plays on that drive, covering 98 yards, and they ate up a lot of the clock too, which they're going to need some of that time later on. 6:09 on the clock, and 7-yard TD catch for Ibrahim Tunkara, the third-year player out of Ottawa U.
But the drives, long drives, do a better job of creating the momentum and helping you sustain it because you're executing on a lot of different ways, on a lot of different plays. It's much better, I think, when you're down like that to drive the ball versus hitting quick.
Now, but the Calgary defense, how does it respond? Not well on that play as Ronald Williams goes to his left and finds a lot of yardage again, close to first down yardage up near the 40.
Well, when you talk about linebackers and flowing, what you want the defensive line to do is stop the penetration, the push by the offensive line. So then those linebackers can slide and hit the holes on a bit of an angle to get there when the running back does. What's happening is I don't think those linebackers are getting that opportunity. And that offensive line of the Eskimos are doing a real fine job of creating seams for Ronald Williams.
11 carries, 104 yards, and the beat goes on for Ronald Williams, coming off a 1,000-yard season, over 1,300 yards. Taking the ball that way, spins off, and just needed a couple for a first down, or less than that, actually. And he does get it. So the sticks will move again for the Eskimos, driving and answering back, trying to steal some of that momentum back that Calgary established on the previous drive.
Well, it's almost a must, and I'm sure on the sidelines, Jason Moss got his offensive group together, everybody, and said, okay, we got to respond to this. We've let him a little bit off the map. Tom Higgins might not even have to say anything. And then, you know what? You're in a great situations when your players take control of those situations to drive things forward.
From the 42 for Moss, with a full backfield and a toss to Avery. Gets wrapped up and taken down, and there's a good defensive play for the Stamps. And number 98, Corey Terry, and on the tackle of Avery. And a slight loss for Edmonton.
That's reading your keys by defensive linemen. We haven't mentioned Corey Terry very often, but what has happened is he doesn't bite on the fake. He sits and waits. The pitch comes outside. And you know, it's a tough thing to do, to hold your water in that situation, so to speak, and watch the play develop and not jump on what you think might happen. Wait to see what happens.
The loss of one sets up a 2nd and 11 at the 41 for Moss, who stands in shotgun. And it gets knocked down at the line. Steve Anderson, excuse me. That was Harvey. Steve Anderson used to wear 92 with Calgary, now, of course, with Edmonton. But that was Harvey, Willie Harvey. His first year from Stephen F. Austin, knocking it down.
You take a look. It's tough to rush the quarterback. There's the guy that's going to knock the ball down. Harvey does an excellent job of facing, trying to get up, and then he see him slide back in off the block off Tim Prinzen, and then reads the quarterback. Gets the hand up. Nice job. Those are the plays they need on defense to get the ball back and momentum for the offense.
So much change up front for Calgary, and we're all trying to get used to it here with Willie Harvey, one of the newcomers. The many changes for Calgary. The ball is dropped on that return, but picked up again by Raymond Adams, who gets his return up to about the 20. So the Stamps get the ball back. 3:31 to go until three-quarter time, and they need another touchdown drive. Tuesday night, and we'll be a part of the Hamilton Tiger Cats opener at Ivor Wynn tomorrow, 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific. Watch it. CFL football on TSN. What a night it's been.
Yeah, and they didn't just jump in. They didn't head home. The Lions stayed east. I think went to Burlington or Hamilton, practiced in the area, and felt that maybe that move would bring the team a little bit closer together. Can be effective.
Little pump fake, Crandall finally handing off. It's Kelvin Anderson, but going nowhere. Singor Mobley there, Terry Ray, those linebackers who are essentially as fast as defensive backs in on the tackle. Terry Ray, what a year he had last year. Hard hitting, not very big. They're both around 200 pounds, but they can stick.
Well, when you've got a situation like that, both of those guys can cover backs out of the backfield. They're kind of a tweener with respect to size in the linebacker spot, but certainly not the way they play the game. Because as you saw right there, Terry Ray, he followed through. Mobley, 2 picks, can stop and play well on the run. I mean, these guys are maybe the most versatile players on a football team.
And the other linebacker, A.J. Gass, for the Eskimos in the middle, tearing up his knee last year, back and starting for Edmonton on this night. And a good job overall on the night for the Edmonton Eskimos defensively as well. A low snap in the shotgun. Crandall picks it up and gets it away. A wide open man. And dropped the ball. Travis Moore. Looked like it might have been deflected, or there was a hand up with an Edmonton defender, but it came down and he caught that ball. He was gone.
Well, the Eskimos adjust on that offense. Here's Mobley right there. He's normally that linebacker spot to your left. He's back in the safety, so that to offset the 4 receivers, the Eskimos have moved over to cover 4 and 4, and they take Mobley, move him back into the middle. Got a pick earlier on in the game by doing that.
And it was deflected just before. Quincy Coleman got his hand on it, and a high snap for Duncan O'Mahony to get another nice punt away for Calgary. Winston October going to his right, gets around the 50 and is taken down. Eskimos have the ball again in a 24-7 lead.
Edmonton, city of champions? Since when? You're so lame! Your biggest attraction is a mall! Woohoo! Pack your bags, honey! We're going to Edmonton! They's got themselves a mall! Woohoo! Even your football team sucks! The Eskimos? If you didn't get hammered by the Stamps twice a year, we wouldn't even know you existed!
CFL, the rivalry lives on.
Your mall sucks!
Less than 2 minutes left until three-quarter time here in Calgary. Edmonton football, and Ronald Williams has it. Goes off tackle right and bulls his way through. What a night for Williams. Over 100 yards and count as he gets into Calgary territory across the 50.
Well, the Eskimos again are showing a different sets. Williams alone in the backfield without the tight end. They have 5 receivers in the set, 3 to one side, 2 to the other. And again, Williams showing his power and again the explosiveness and then the upper body. 10 yards a pop is unbelievable, but you know what, again it comes back to his running position. He gets his shoulders down, the explosiveness comes out of his butt and his legs, and he uses his forearms to knock some people back.
And lest we forget, he's opened up the scoring in this game on the receiving end and a long reception for a touchdown. And there he is taking it right side and lots more to go. Good blocking up front by the Eskimos, and Ronald Williams rumbles again inside the 30. Another huge gain for the Eskimos, keeping it along the ground, which works to their favor right now with a 24-7 lead.
Just take a look at the right side of the line and the great job that Morris is doing a tackle, Groenwagen and Princeton at center. And I tell you what, these guys stay in the face of their blocks. See how they're shielding people? Even when Fells goes to reach for Williams, he's still getting pushed and he's engaged by that offensive lineman. There's no one around that's going to hand tackle, let alone arm tackle, Ronald Williams when he's had a chance to get his nose upfield and he gets some momentum. That offensive line is doing a splendid job of not only head-on dry blocking, but shield as it spreads out and goes wide.
But it all comes back. There was a penalty on the play. It takes it back. First down at the Edmonton 51. All the way back there after a 10-yard penalty. This time it's John Avery. And he gets some of it back almost to the original line of scrimmage, about the Calgary 50. With about 33 seconds and ticking until three-quarter time here at McMahon.
Boy, the 1-2 punch, whether you've got both of them in the backfield, Avery and Ronald Williams, or that single back situation that now John Avery is solid in right now as Williams on the sideline. Boy, I tell you, and how do you chew up the game and the clock and keep it away? And how good is it to run the ball when they know you're going to run it?
Well, they're enjoying it right now. It's flags come down before the ball's even snapped.
Time count violation. Edmonton number 12.
There's another way to kill the clock. You could either run the ball or you could just wait until they flag you and then head to the fourth quarter. But they do get pushed back in the time count violation there with 4 seconds to go, with the line of scrimmage right at midfield now. Second down, about 15 to go.
Second down, 17 to go.
Rushing yards, no comparison at all. It's been a big part of the story of the night, especially what Ronald Williams has done. Passing. Intercepted. Yes, Kelly Malvo has the ball. On the last play of the third quarter, the Stamps D comes up.
Oh, here we go again. A very athletic interception. Yeah, go to the end zone. You never know.
Well, they'd whistled it down, and now more acquaintances.
Well, you don't expect the Grey Cup champions to fold the tents and go away. Nor should you, fans or coaches.
Absolutely. You'd certainly hope they wouldn't. As Alfred Payton finally gets a taste of the Alberta rivalry, and he seems to be enjoying it. Little chat there with the Alondra Johnsons. We head back to Dave Randorf. All right, thank you, Dave. As Wally Buono talks it over, upset about what just happened after the Kelly Malvo interception, and more pushing and shoving and trash talking, I'm sure, but it is Stampeder football to start this fourth quarter. At the 35, under the shotgun, Crandall, look for him to be passing a lot, of course, goes to the wide side of the field. Abraham Tunkara, who has the only touchdown, the only points for Calgary on this night. And this possession arranged by the interception of that man, Kelly Malvo.
Well, there's the setup right there. Walters is going to go down, and Malvo's got a good view right here. The ball should be thrown out here off the break. The separation wasn't great. Walters has got to come across, but Moss has got to get that ball to the outside. Malvo played it. He was in his back pocket, never took his eyes off the situation. Outstanding.
Stamps down by 17 to start this fourth quarter. And running it with Calvin Anderson, who gets it up to about the 45 and looks like a first down for Calgary.
And there's a guy who we haven't talked about much tonight because he hasn't got the ball much. I mean, you know, again, normally out of the backfield, a very threatening kind of receiver on one-on-one matchups running the football, but it goes to show you the state of this Calgary offense, or at least earlier on in the game, that they couldn't get it going.
You would not expect the Stamps to be doing well if we're not saying the name Calvin Anderson or Travis Moore very often, and we haven't. Ball comes back to Crandall after he'd handed it off. Little flea flicker action there, and the pass is completed for another first down to Rob Johnson across midfield.
Well, great job by Rob Johnson on a body position more than anything else. A little flea flicker, you got to step up. Kind of fancy. I'm sure they want to go a little bit deeper, but watch how Johnson has to gear it down because the ball's thrown. He goes to his knees, almost like a slide, and gives his quarterback a target. They need to make big plays on an ongoing basis to get back.
Pressure coming from the Eskimos, and Crandall throws that one incomplete. Intended for Kamal Peterson, number 8, but it'll be second down now.
Still though, that they have looked better in the second half, they still don't look like they're in sync, do they?
No, they don't.
And you know what? The guys in the place, you know, Peterson and Johnson, those guys are going to be good receivers. But it's tough coming out of the gates when you haven't got a Vince Danielson or Mark Bolrick. I mean, you know, that communication, that that you talk about with quarterbacks and receivers isn't there for a lot of these guys yet.
Fork to the right for Crandall. He's looking that way, but he's under too much pressure. Marcus Crandall is taken down, and ultimately it's Alfred Payton finishing the job off for his second sack of the night. And so the acquisition of Payton has been paying off as well for the Eskimos, who signed him up after the Argos let him go.
Well, pressure from the outside forces Crandall, though it looked like he had decent protection. Jackie Kellogg, number 5, comes straight off the right edge. Forces Crandall to jump around a little bit more for his life rather than finding a receiver. And who happens to be there? 56, Mr. Payton. Licking his chops, just waiting him to spin into him.
Sitting down and having a rest in behind Justin Ring, and a nice punt again for O'Malley. Chasing October to the 5. And good coverage on the punt by the Stampeders, so they've hemmed Edmonton deep down to about the Eskimo 8-yard line. Their defense needs to respond. 12:33 to go in this fourth quarter in Calgary. The fourth down to the Calgary sideline now, and Lisa Hillary. Lisa?
Well, Coach Daly Rod was telling his guys to stay in their respective lines. And before the start of the fourth quarter, Coach Buono said to Daly, we need to stop this run and stop it now.
Thank you, Lisa. Wally Buono there, and that was Jim Daly beside him. The former head coach of the Saskatchewan Roughriders and assistant for the last couple of years with Calgary. And a short gain and first down for John Avery on that one. So second and long, so the Stampeder defense doing its job there, but they would, they would just love to put them in a situation where they have to punt perhaps from their end zone. So this is a big play coming up now.
Oh, without question, and not to give up the big play. Recall earlier in the game, this is where Chris Brazel hooked up with Jason Moss for about 102 yards, I believe. So they have to play it tight.
A big second down for the Stampeder defense. Out of the shotgun. Moss inside his 5. Pump fake. Gets outside. Still can't find the man. He's under pressure. He does. And it is a catch for Edmonton. Winston October keeps his feet in bounds, and a big play for the Eskimos as they get the first down, and a smile on the face of Jason Moss.
Well, Jason Moss doesn't have much to look after he gets his first setup. You'll see the wide side of the field where they get those 3 receivers. October's on the top of the field. He does a fine job when Moss starts to run around to give his quarterback a target. They tell receivers, get your quarterback open. Feed in. Nice job. Boy, that's beautiful. And at an important time of the game.
Very important time. Ronald Williams, the ball carrier, and tries to lunge ahead for a couple of yards. Front 7 getting a little bit better at stuffing the run now for Calgary, but
well,
it's getting a little late.
Practice.
I was going to say they've had a lot of chances to do it, so they're getting it right, but is time running out on them now? Under 11 minutes to go. It's all new with Terry and with Harvey and with Anthony Watson in his first year and Jeff Traversy, the veteran there, but a lot of changes up front for Calgary in this 2nd and 8 now from the Eskimo 27. And another big second down completed, this time to Terry Vaughn. What great poise by Jason Moss and that Eskimo offense, penned in, but getting out of it, and now on the move up near the 45. And this will suck some life out of Calgary, I'm sure, as the clock continues to tick, and the Eskimos are hanging on with that 17-point lead.
You know, running backs get a chance to make some hits occasionally. Watch this. Step up and protect your quarterback. You don't wait. You step up on Greg Frères right there. I heard the shot and the clash of the helmets from up here. Well, that's fun, too. You can run the ball, have fun, but it's good to stick somebody blitzing.
15-yard gain. Terry Vaughn on that reception. Moss rolls out to the right and finds another man. Completed there to Tucker. Jason Tucker.
Well, there's no question Jason Moss showed last year, as he continues to show in the first game this year, that they can take him as a quarterback and move him around. He's not just a pocket guy. You've seen him out of the shotgun, slide slightly to his right and left on a slide protection by the offensive line. You've seen him run when he had to, and you've seen him roll as a designed roll. He's a good athlete, and when you got a quarterback that can do that, like a Matt Dunnigan, you put huge pressure on defenses.
Last year, there were 3 potential starters in Edmonton. Ronald Williams carries that ball and bowls his way along. He has a couple of passengers along the way across midfield and another first down. They're saying that there were 3 potential starters for the Eskimos last year, and all 3 of them started tonight. In the other game, of course, Nealon Green up against Dan Crowley, and that went Green's way with Saskatchewan winning in overtime. And now the undisputed starter is this man, Jason Moss, having quite a night and justifying that he should be number 1 in Edmonton.
Oh, and it's a great sign. No shortage of talent and good, fairly young talent at quarterback in this league.
First and 10 Edmonton from the Calgary 54.
And I know that question was raised in the last couple of years with a lot of the great talent getting older, like Damon Allen and Tracy Ham leaving the game. After the fake and dumping it off to Williams, and this play has worked brilliantly on the night. Ronald Williams catching it or running with it. He's having an outstanding evening, and that one is another first down as the Eskimos are starting to make it look pretty hopeless for the Stampeders right now.
Well, he's a little tired, but I can tell you he's having some fun. And the Eskimos within this offense and how they're using their running backs is it's brilliant to this point. Whether it's been Ron Williams, and that has been predominantly, or whether it's John Avery coming in. That's a pretty good night. You combine everything. That's an impact player right there.
That's just his receiving yards. And
yeah,
of course, well over 100 yards in rushing. He should be tired. He's been running a lot tonight.
Yeah, and the other thing is, he can't lose sight of when he is running the football, nor can Avery, but I think more Ron, because he's a little bit more tired probably, that they're going to be stripping the football. So you can't get lax, you can't get lazy.
122 yards on the ground as well for Ronald Williams. Quite a night. And they could afford to, they were passing on that one, but they could certainly afford to just keep running the football as well and kill as much clock as they can. And even though they don't have any points in the second half, outscored 7-0 in this half, they're still very much in control of this football game. Next edition of Sports Center coming up. Gino Retta and Dan Pollard at 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 Pacific. Highlights of this game and the earlier game, of course. Opening night in Ottawa, and what a show the Renegades put on with Saskatchewan Roughriders. Nearly had the victory, but Paul McCallum, the hero for Saskatchewan, with a late field goal to tie it, and then the winner in overtime. A 54-yarder for Paul McCallum. Terry Vaughn, the whistle blows, saying he was down on that first down pass.
And I was watching Jason Moss there, and just he got a chance to set his feet and lots of protection. You know he's feeling good and confident when the coverage is as tight as it was there, and he's throwing down low. He knows his receiver's going to go get it. He just, I dare you to knock this away. There's no way. We're completing it. That's how good I feel.
The confidence is contagious as well, you can tell.
Oh.
It's the way that entire offense has been playing right now. Down to the 32 and a 2nd and 5. Just about the midway point of the 4th quarter. And the Eskimos in scoring position now and throwing over. And much closer to the end zone in that reception. Tucker again inside the 15. Big first down again and a nice drive, considering they started it inside their 10. They're all the way down into the red zone, down inside the 15. Another nice pass by Moss, Neil.
Absolutely, and it's going to come right through the middle. This is about a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and it has to be. Again, the pattern underneath the safety, Frères, who is quite deep in that situation. But again, it's great to see receivers have the sense. You just don't, even when you've got great speed, you don't blow through areas, you don't blow through zones. You slow down, you gear down.
Moss, end zone look for Winston October, and goes a bit far with William Fields on the coverage. So it'll be 2nd down and 10.
And Moss has been fairly much unscathed. He took a bit of a hit there, but they really haven't made a lot of contact with him tonight. They've done a fine job of, again, that offensive line of protecting him.
And you talked earlier about the poise he's shown and getting rid of the ball quickly, too, in a lot of cases. He's throwing the ball well, and he looks very confident.
Oh, yeah, and great mechanics. And, you talk about the offensive linemen, they don't get much press. Well, they are tonight because they're doing just a hell of a job.
9 plays, 84 yards, and counting, end zone look. And they're calling for an interference penalty there. Chris Brazel has a touchdown on the night, wanted another one, and thought he was a little tied up. He's still ranting about it. What's up with that? Where's the flag, he's saying? So he stood in there, and someone
I thought he was doing the chicken dance for a second.
It was the celebratory dance after the touchdown he didn't get to do.
Well, that's the way the game goes. You expect everything to go your way. Well, you might as well complain. You may get the next one, right?
Well, it was Chris Brazel that really opened this game up. Long touchdown reception back in the first half. Maybe our leading candidate for the TSN turning point in this game as Edmonton opened up a 24-0 lead in the first half. Field goal try from just outside the 20 for Sean Fleming in the first points of the second half for Edmonton. 3 more on the board. It's pretty comfortable now, a 20-point lead. 27-7 Eskimos in the fourth. Peters had big shoes to fill this year, and there's one of them. The new offensive coordinator, Jacques Chapdelaine, was an assistant last year, but George Cortez, for a number of years, ran the show offensively for Calgary. And look at the way they were. They only won 8 games last year, but they were still leading in many categories, first in points per game and rush yards per game. So obviously they're way under that average this time around in Jacques' debut as offensive coordinator for Calgary. But a number of things not going right for the Stamps tonight.
No, but you look at their weapons and the capability, and they could get right back to those numbers.
They certainly could, and they had a slow start last year as well in their opener against Winnipeg. And things changed later on. Alfred Payton in on the act again.
Is he waving at me?
I think he is.
It must have been.
Yeah. Jacques Chapdelaine, though, a lot of success at not only the CFL level, because he was part of that offense, and to be fair, helped that offense out last year, working with receivers and special teams as well. And won a Vanier Cup as the head coach of Laval. Got that program off and back in '96 and developed it, and they won a championship, and then he was let go, which was very surprising. But back in Calgary and loving being back here. He had many years in Calgary as well. Signor Mobley. Pop there, and Rob Johnson on the receiving end.
Well, if you're not picking it off, you're trying to make some contact. And again, normally at that linebacker spot, you're seeing Mobley a little bit deeper. They've made some adjustments, some subtle adjustments in that defense to get him deeper and move the safety up.
Crandall under pressure, chased out, across midfield, and gets it across the Edmonton 50 down to about the 46, close to first down yardage. About the 47, but 4:36. It's becoming very academic now as a 20-point lead. Edmonton is still managing to hang on fairly comfortably in the second half, even though they've been outscored 7-3. Marcus Crandall started his CFL career as the Edmonton Eskimos backup. And at one point when Don Matthews was coaching the Eskimos, had declared that he was aiming at having Crandall be his #1 guy. But it never really worked out with Nealon Green out there as well. Dan Crowley was there. Crandall left. And in 2000, actually played in NFL Europe. Signed with the Stampeders as a free agent last year and was a backup to Ben Sankey until, even in that opener, ended up getting in the game and holding it for a while until he was hurt. But the rest is history. Late in the season, he established himself as a bona fide starter in the CFL. A brilliant performance in the Western Final in Edmonton to beat his old team, and then in that Grey Cup when he had another great game, 18-35, and those touchdown passes as they beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers.
Well, you look at these two organizations in Alberta, and you talk about the quarterbacks that have come into this program in Calgary and have turned out to be just outstanding. And not only the ones that are here, but they've come before them, and same in Edmonton. I mean, the ability to find the guys that can play the game at quarterback, that fit the system and can play the game in the CFL awfully well. It's unique. I mean, it doesn't get any better than this. I mean, look at these guys.
And before that, we should point out Danny Barrett was the QB that led them to the '91 Grey Cup. They lost to Toronto, but Doug Flutie, part of that machine, and Jeff Garcia. And the latter part of that chain, Marcus Crandall, tied up there by Terry Ray and taken down for a loss that kind of night. But yeah, that legacy of quarterbacks, and Edmonton had one going for the longest time as well, but what Calgary had in the '90s and into this century now has been brilliant.
Well, when you have to step up and block a linebacker that's coming at the speed of Terry Ray, the one thing you don't want to do, especially if you're a little bit deeper in the backfield, is go down and cut. So the best thing to do is get yourself up, get your legs underneath your butt, and make a block. Or that'll happen. Now, of course, Anderson had to come from the other side, but still, you got to make that hit in the upper body.
It was good pressure on O'Mani, but he did get it away to Winston October down at his 12. Cuts up, and ultimately is taken down by Lawrence Deck across the 20. Calgary football, but A lot of work to do with only 3:41 to play.
I don't know what's worse, Calgary, your crappy rodeo or your crappy football team. Ha! Stampeders my butt. Well, here's a news flash for you. You're not real Cowboys. You're a bunch of pasty-faced, gas-guzzling stink jockeys. Edmonton's gonna kick your butt.
CFL, the rivalry lives on.
Loser!
Good hit. Losing the game, and Big Fred Childress is hurt down on the sideline. Here's an update with Lisa Hillary.
Well, thanks, Rod. Freddie Childress is favoring his right knee. He seems to have gotten up, and he's taken a couple of steps, but it looks like a strained right knee. He does have an ice pack wrapped around it. Back to you.
Thank you, Lisa. The Big Chill. 7th year with the Stamps, 9th in the CFL at Arkansas. Going at about 333 pounds or thereabouts. A lot of size up front for the Stamps, but he's hurting right now. And the morale of that team, I would think, would have to be hurting a little bit as well, the way this night has developed. Ronald Williams, what a game he's had on that short yardage on that first down.
Well, again, the Eskimos coming out in that formation with the tight end, and it's Glenn Carson, who normally wears number 61, lines up in that tight end. He's got that pullover fashion statement thing going on because he's can't wear the number 61, and they've had great success with that, both to the front side, to the tight end, and of course that cutback that you've seen.
Second hit.
It's the last play before the 3-minute warning. Already 2:51 now, actually, in the stadium clock, as they blow it down just as Moss is dropping back.
Time count violation. Edmonton number 12, still second down.
Well, when you're up by 20, you can afford to take your time.
Yeah,
let that clock tick down as much as possible.
Oh, without question, but you want the clock ticking down when you're standing over your center, and you got a good eye on it, so you can call the snap when you're ready to go. So.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's lucky 50-50 winning ticket number 75.
So the 3-minute warning is out on Wendy's Friday Night Football. 27-7, Edmonton. As Wally Buono's team can only hope to salvage a bit of pride with so little left in this game. 2nd and 13 Eskimos. Under 3 minutes to go. Ronald Williams. One of the few things that's gone wrong for him on the night. What a brilliant night. Now tonight's player of the game brought to you by sportcheck.ca and Canada's choice for sports and our choice for player of the game. This man, Ronald Williams, 122 in the ground, 52 in the air, including a touchdown reception to start the game. Can't do much better than that, Neil.
Absolutely not, and if this is a sign of things to come, it shows the versatility of not only Ronald Williams, but the versatility of that offense, or the flexibility of being able to get the ball in a lot of people's hands and have them be successful. That's the idea. That's where success comes from, and Ronald Williams was a perfect example of that this evening.
Sean Fleming getting it away from his 10. And the Stamps on the return with Raymond Adams taking it, getting it up near midfield. 2:34 to go on the clock. It's the second full season for Tom Higgins as head coach of the Edmonton Eskimos. He always had that dream that someday he'll get that job after trying for a head coaching job 6 times, finally got it. In the strangest of circumstances, he thought he'd have the big splashy news conference, whatever, but just came that Don Matthews was stepping aside, essentially let go. So it was very awkward for him the way he got it in training camp last year.
Very strange, very unceremonious, as we spoke about yesterday. But you know what? He got the opportunity. But more importantly, and I thought it was interesting that he said, and we noted it before, that he's really has a chance to be himself this year. He got into training camp. He's got enough coaches. We spoke about him coaching the defensive line.
Now there's Rob Johnson taking that one and taking it to the house. Touchdown, Stampeders. Trying to make some statement before they say goodnight here at McMahon Stadium. With 2:26 to go on the clock. Not impossible, not likely either, but got to start somewhere. 58 yards in for the touchdown. That puts them behind by 14 points right now.
Oh yeah, just a great play. I mean, he hit that seam like that horse is heading up the sidelines. It was, it happened fast and it happened very accurately. That's the precision we've seen in the past from this offense. Making good reads, finding the gap up the field, and having the receiver recognize the situation. Perfect there. So
Mark McLaughlin's there. They line up to kick it for the single point, and trail by 13. 2.5 minutes to go. And a short kick coming up, I'm sure. To finish that, look at that touchdown again, Neil.
Well, from the right-hand side, it starts with real good protection, and there it goes. Up the seam, from the inside, back up the middle. He gets a position, Johnson does, on the first man coverage, and then the ball's thrown to him in a situation where before the second man could pursue. 3 steps out of the shotgun. Great job by Calvin Anderson to step up on a blitzing Jackie Kellogg from that side, which is one of the reasons that middle was open. Kellogg's the safety. He comes up to put pressure. Crandall makes the read. Johnson makes the adjustment, and that's the result.
It doesn't make it a game quite yet, but you never know. If they can get possession of the ball again with 2.5 and get another quick touchdown, then they can.
Oh, I don't think anyone's resting particularly easy over the Eskimo sidelines at this point. You never know.
Well, it's the nice thing about this league is stranger things have happened, and quite often do.
Yeah, to that point, the Western Final last year and that interception by Field. So and I've always thought this is one of the more exciting plays in football because it comes when it has to near the end of the game. It can be wild and wacky.
Ricky Walters, Terry Ray, Singor Mobley, they're all lined up to their right, waiting for the short kick of McLaughlin. And an Edmonton player was hit right away going for it, and they got a scramble. Roger Reinson pointing that Edmonton has the ball. It's right at midfield, and it looked like a chance for Calgary because contact was made. A flag goes down as the helmet goes off of Scott Dybert, who thought he should have had the ball, but Edmonton does have it. Rob Harrod, the product of Ottawa U, coming up with it. There's Dybert, who looked for a moment like he would have it.
Boy, you know what? And one of the great things is collisions. And they say the first wave knocks somebody down. Watch the hit Peterson puts on right. No, it's not Peterson. It's
Willie Fells.
Willie Fells.
Calgary number 4.
And there's Dybert going for the ball, and Harrod. They were the two wrestling for it. And Aldi Henry in there. What might have been, they've been able to get the ball instead of penalty going against it. But
this is, this is where the officials break a nail, getting in there to try to separate people. It's tough on that. You got to tape the nails and stuff. But there's some hitting there.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's
coming through? That is just, that's beautiful.
2:22 in the clock down, but it is getting more academic now. The Eskimos having the ball. And Ronald Williams, our choice as a player of the game, in there. What was it like being in some of those pileups? You must have been in a few as a fullback when you carry that ball and about 20 guys, well, 10 anyway, jumping on you.
20. Only in Calgary because they used to come out of the stands. They just like the Eskimos to no end. It's great fun. It's very gratifying, especially though in not that situation where Ronald Williams ran into a bit of a wall, but it's again, you get great satisfaction from being successful when they know what's coming.
Moss to throw in the second down and 10. Wide open man. And it's swatted away. And it's Calgary ball. Jason Tucker caught it. It got knocked away. 1:44 to go, and they've got the ball back. Willie Fells knocked it out, and there he is with it. Well, they're still happy. There's still hope, perhaps.
Wide open. You wonder how a receiver can get that wide open. Well, you know what? When the ball's thrown, hustle to it. And now that man, 29, Williams Fields, does a great job of stripping the ball from the receiver. Fells picks it up. First down, stamps under 40.
Jason Tucker was the one who coughed it up. And there is, dare I say it, Travis Moore on the receiving end. His first catch of the game comes with 1:39 to go in the fourth quarter. That is an element of the Stamps offense that has been sorely missing so far. The perennial all-star and having many 1,000-yard receiving seasons, obviously.
Well, 76 catches last year for 1,298, 6 touchdowns, and the longest 64. You'd expect him to be involved earlier, wouldn't you?
But they follow that up with a sack. Albert Reese taking down Marcus Crandall. He had 7 straight years of more than 1,000 yards in receiving for Travis Moore, and his first catch just in the previous play. one of the surprises for the Stampeders on this night of their opener here at McMahon. Big Albert Reese, one of two in the front line for Edmonton from Grambling State. Of course, the other one, Alfred Payton. A steady force up front for the Eskimos at 6'6", 285.
Well, when you put Peterson and Reese in the middle, they have great range. They have the ability and the strength to take on and to be double teamed, which is great for Payton on the outside.
And that pass complete up at midfield to Mal Peterson. He's had a decent night for a gain of 17 yards. And just down to about a minute now for the Stampeders here in this opener. Pretty well have to air it out now and look end zone if they're to think at all about trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat. I don't know. Are they going to even bother with anything short? Plum fake. Crandall just takes off. Well, he had lots of room to work with. Gets a block down the sidelines. It's as good as a long pass as it gets to the 25. Unfortunately, it takes a lot more time. And down to 43 seconds now.
Well, they're working hard towards another onside kick here.
You know, they could wind up making the score respectable. As you look at it later on, if it ends up, say, for example, being 27-21, and you think, oh, not bad, not reasonable score, and really it's been a totally Edmonton's game.
Oh, yeah, but
you
know what? When they go in, and if Calgary doesn't end up winning this game, which at this point doesn't look like they will, and they make it close, the coaches will remind them, don't let that score fool you, you guys. I mean, we weren't very good at all. Give credit to Edmonton and Tom Higgins. They played awfully well, but don't get a swollen head or feel good about yourself as the blitz comes.
And here it does come with Mobley. Gets it away for the touchdown. Kelvin Anderson gets it. So once again, as Neil alluded to before, Crandall makes a nice read with Mobley coming in, and he finds his man for 6 more. And with the convert coming to put them down by 6 with 38, as said before, stranger things have happened.
So dangerous out of the backfield. There he is. He's going to release out. Watch who's going to end up covering him. Alfred Payton, the defensive end, releases from his spot and goes downfield. It almost looks like Payton and A.J. Gass got tangled a little bit. Gass went down. Payton kept going. You know, no disrespect to Alfred Payton. He's not going to cover. Number 32, Calvin Anderson.
McLaughlin to convert, which he does. 38 seconds to go. 27-21 Edmonton.
Quarterbacks have got to stand in there and under pressure, as Crandall did here. He steps out a bit to his right because he felt it and still takes a shot for Mobley coming from the backside.
But that time he gets the reward with a long touchdown pass to Kelvin Anderson to make it close. You never know. Another onside kick, the second one for McLaughlin. They nearly recovered the other one. Of course, all the great ball handlers for the Eskimos will be waiting for it. Mobley's there, and Ray and Jack Kellogg.
Well, that first wave of Eskimos closer to the 45-yard line have got to take on that first wave of the Stampeders and allow the guys behind to get the ball clean in the air. Now, it's all well and good to draw it up, but let's see what happens.
It's a ball game for the Stamps. They got to get the ball. Now, Eskimos have it, and they should be able to take it home from here, and there's a sure-headed guy. None better than that. Terry Vaughn has the ball, and the Eskimos have it with 36 seconds left.
Well, the other thing about that, and Terry Vaughn knows it because he's done it before, he's sitting back and going to wait, and you know the ball takes forever to come down. And you know you're going to catch it, you want to jump, but you secure it, and the other thing you know, you're going to get hit. Great job by Terry Vaughn of getting it. And then did you see how he turned away from the pressure and went right down to the ground?
He's on a good pace for another 1,000-yard season, and if he gets it in receiving yardage, he'll be the only one ever to do it. As Jason Moss just downs it after what's been a very good night for him, and what's been a more lopsided 6-point victory for the Eskimos. It's only take a second off the clock there on second down, but what certainly projects to be a victory for Edmonton, more decisive than the scoreboard would suggest.
Well, it'll be interesting to see Tom Higgins can go back to Edmonton and feel pretty good about what his offense and his defense has done today. Special teams have been so-so. And Wally Buono, he spoke to us and talked about not being as patient this year with his football team, not willing to wait as long. Not going to stand for lack of effort and enthusiasm and emotion. That's not how you win. That's not how you represent the Grey Cup champions. So it'll be interesting to watch the progression of this team specifically on defense. On offense, I think it's just a matter of getting these guys more reps, the new faces, and getting them used to, with respect to receivers, to their quarterback.
He had a lot of questions about last season at the start, and that ended up bearing out with an 0-3 start. He felt better about the start here, but it doesn't feel too good tonight, I'm sure. At the end of the 2001 season, Calgary was #1 in the CFL, but now they're #2 in Alberta on this opening night in 2002. Good night for the Eskimos.
Great night, but you know what? This story isn't over.
No, far from it. It's not how you start, it's how you end, right? Wally Buono said that before, and last season is proof, but they lose tonight. Edmonton takes it 27-21.